WNBA.
She will be out for 2 weeks minimum following a quad strain.
There's no one orchestrating, no one creating, just broken possessions and forced shots. And when backup guards were asked to fill the void, the drop-off was staggering. With Colson and Cunningham both out, the ball handling duties fell into the hands of players who simply weren't ready. The result? Turnovers, hesitations, missed opportunities. The Fever couldn't get clean looks.
The winless, what the bleep is going on here?
Just minutes ago, the breaking point finally hit. Caitlin Clark, the face of the WNBA, the heartbeat of the Indiana Fever, has been officially benched.
The Fever are down to 6 real players. They have got 8 players right now. Like, there are players on this team that they're not going to get burned in a game.
Replaced on the floor as the team spirals into one of the worst injury meltdowns in recent league history. It's not just a setback, it's a full collapse. With Clark out due to a nagging quad strain, Sophie Cunningham sidelined again with a Caitlin Clark. It was a meltdown without her.
Indiana Fever lost against arguably the worst team in the WNBA.
This Fever team without Caitlin Clark should have beaten this team by 16 points. With your big 2 available and these kind of pieces around them, you should be able to whip the hell out of this team.
And it proved that without their leader, the Fever have no map and no one left to follow it. What's most alarming now isn't just the losing, it's the uncertainty. The Indiana Fever are dealing with more than a tough stretch. They're facing an identity crisis. Everything they built.
So the Indiana Fever going to add a player under a hardship contract.
The Fever are down to 6 real players.
Who should the Indiana Fever bring over?
So the Indiana Fever have been ravaged by injuries.
Sid Colson and Sophie Cunningham join Caitlin Clark on the injury list.
Caitlin Clark's out 2 weeks.
Indiana Fever losing to the...
We're struggling under pressure. Role players are being asked to do too much, and young players like Aaliyah Boston are being exposed without the space that Clark naturally creates.
And you've got DeWanna Bonner, scoring wing. You've got Bree Turner, defensive center. You got Dantas, who's playing like a defensive center this year. You've got Aaliyah Boston, center. Natasha Howard, ball hog. Kelsey Mitchell, guard. One person who has any real ability to handle the ball on the team.
The chemistry that once made the Fever look promising is now fractured. Communication is breaking down. Defensive rotations are late, and there's no vocal leader on the floor keeping things to the injured ankle.
So the Indiana Fever have been ravaged by injuries. Caitlin Clark was the big injury, but in the last game, Sydney Colson goes down early with a left leg issue. Sophie Cunningham late with a right ankle twist or sprain, the one that she had already hurt.
And Sydney Colson hobbling from a brutal leg twist. The Fever aren't just short on talent, they're running out of players. What was once a promising roster is now held together by desperation, duct tape, and prayers.
Caitlin Clark's out 2 weeks. Somebody who was responsible for
The success of the WNBA rides on the success of the Indiana Fever and specifically Caitlin Clark. We saw the Caitlin Clark effect last season. We saw the influx of millions of new fans, billions of dollars in revenue that came to the WNBA and that was supposed to come to the WNBA this season.
Without Caitlin Clark, the Indiana Fever are barely holding it together, and every weakness is being exposed. Their offense, once built around Clark's ability to stretch the floor, create mismatches and collapse defenses, now looks static and predictable.
Caitlin Clark is the driving force behind the interest in the Fever and the interest in the
26.5 of all WNBA economic activity last season, including revenue from merchandise, ticket sales, and television.
The coaching staff is scrambling. The front office is searching for hardship contracts. And fans? They're watching the season fall apart before their eyes. But this isn't just about a few injuries. This is about what happens when a franchise builds everything around one transcendent player.
So the Indiana Fever going to add a player under a hardship contract, which essentially is when you don't have enough players available to have 10 on your roster.
That this season was designed around Caitlin Clark, her vision, her pace, her gravity. And now that she's sidelined, it's clear. This team has no backup plan.
They've got 8 players in their roster. And when I say 6 real players, I mean that because there are players on this team that are just not going to be they're not going to get burned. Like Michaela Timpson has seen the floor for 30 seconds since the first.
The offense isn't just stalling, it's falling apart possession by possession. Veteran players like Kelsey Mitchell, who were expected to step up, and fails to protect her. And now with Clark on the bench, the Fever are crumbling fast. The collapse started the moment Caitlin Clark was forced to sit out with a lingering quad injury.
Just superstar player Caitlin Clark is out as well with a quad strain. Who's going to be the point guard? How did they get in this situation? What the hell is they going to do?
An injury that, according to insiders, she had been battling since training camp. She pushed through for weeks, logging heavy minutes, absorbing physical punishment, and players were being shuffled in and out, asked to play out of position, cover matchups they weren't prepared for.
This is a WNBA problem, and as more and more eyeballs are watching this league, it becomes growingly an issue. The officiating feels you never have a true grasp on what it's going to be.
And carry minutes they weren't conditioned for. It wasn't just sloppy, it was dangerous. Even the coaching staff looked overwhelmed. Timeout management was shaky. Adjustments came too late. And the substitutions, especially pulling hot hands off the court, left fans scratching their heads. This wasn't just a game without carrying the team's offensive load without complaint.
Obviously, the Fever are looking into a guard, right? Like somebody who can handle the ball. That's the position of need, of most dire need at this point in time. But three players have stood out.
But now she's out. And without her, the Indiana Fever aren't just struggling, they're unraveling. In their latest loss, the Fever looked directionless. The offense was broken. The spacing was non-existent. And the spark Clark brings, the movement, the tempo, the court vision, it was all gone.
And I'm going to keep it real here. Kelsey Mitchell is a massive reason why you lost the game against the Mystics, and you lost the game last night. She was 8 of 31. You're in Angel Reese territory. And the scary part is she's shooting it 15 plus times. You can't be that inefficient. You will lose ball games.
The ball stuck, the pace slowed, and every trip down the floor felt like a gamble. With Clark sidelined and her replacements falling one by one, Indiana found itself with no rhythm, no direction, and no way out.
If this injury does anything, it should be a win.
And just last night, once again, the Indiana Fever only had 4 points in transition buckets. The game before that, again, without Caitlin Clark, 0 points in transition buckets. Every single player on this Indiana Fever team has been taken out of rhythm.
The result, one of the most disjointed performances of the season. Possessions fell apart, shot clocks ran out, and no one looked ready to lead.
Indiana Fever team lost against arguably the worst team in the WNBA. The reason the Indiana Fever is losing is because Caitlin Clark is out. Just because Caitlin is out, this team crumbles.
Then came the real blow. Sydney Colson, who was starting to find rhythm as a backup guard, suffered a brutal leg injury in the first half.
Wake-up call to the WNBA, the Players Association, the team owners, that just like that, all this fanfare, all this interest, all this newfound attention on the league can disappear overnight. But the Indiana Fever, that road show, the merchandise, the ticket sales, the television, the road show, Indiana Fever are coming to town, the scheduling conflict, that's over for the time being.
What was once a high-tempo, sharp-shooting, high IQ team has now devolved into survival mode. And for a franchise that was finally finding its identity, it's starting to feel like they're losing it all. The numbers paint a brutal picture, but the eye test makes it even worse. She was helped off the court and didn't return.
All these people are calling this a super team. They turned out to be disasters. Chemistry is real in sports, folks. And just because you put what looks like star pieces together, it doesn't mean they're going to become a cohesive unit. And I understand they barely lost the game. That's with Sydney Colson and Sophie Cunningham getting injured. And you can't count on Caitlin Clark carrying that kind of load.
Just minutes later, Sophie Cunningham aggravated her already fragile ankle and disappeared, couldn't get to the line, and couldn't execute even basic sets in crunch time.
Playing hopefully helps that, giving them just a couple of things that we can focus on. And we continue to really rep over the last 2 days on both ends of the floor, knowing that the players are going to be playing out of position and freeing them up to stay aggressive and just play.
Meanwhile, Aaliyah Boston, who's supposed to be the team's co-star, was once again forced to carry too much. She posted solid stats, but she was smothered with double teams all night long.
They don't have anybody.